Yo, hey guys, Wix here, back with another video. This is going to be a guide on the Witch Hunter character. So our current Witch Hunter, we have beaten NG0 and NG1 on our new profile series. I just kind of want to do like a little video because I don't have one. So for NG0, I'll just kind of talk about the Witch Hunter and like what I did to beat NG0. So anyway, the Witch Hunter is like a character that has an interesting skill set. He has like a repeater crossbow, which does all physical damage from his primary, and all the rest of his skills are all magic damage. So he has Flaming Hounds that will increase his crit chance with Fanatic Zeal. He has Branding Ward that will do damage in an area and then debuff a target so they take more damage. He has a Witch Pyre that is basically just like a bonfire that makes enemies run towards it and they burn when they get close. Also, when he gets hit, crows come out and like defend the Witch Hunter. And lastly, he throws a torch that does a pretty substantial amount of damage, 120 magic damage base, and applies burning. So we can look at all his skills real quick. This is the Flaming Hounds. They kind of bounce and they deal damage as they bounce and ignite at the end. We have our ward, so you place, it activates, and then it's going to leave a debuff, as you can see by that. And then we have the burning fire. So these guys are static, they can't really move, but what would happen is the enemies would be forced to run towards it, and it'll basically tank some damage for you. But anyway, for NG0, you really don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I would just worry about Flaming Hounds, Fanatic Zeal, and your repeater. So that's kind of what we leveled up first. Really, you want to get as many points in repeater as possible. It also depends when you are getting the Witch Hunter. He is in the DLC, and you unlock him just by having the DLC. So if your town isn't upgraded to tier 5, where you can't get these Searing Torch points, I wouldn't worry about them. You can just grab this other stuff. So I'd put 3 points in repeater, or as many points as you can if you have tier 5 undone. I'm also going to put points in Fanatic Zeal, so I'd max out these two for sure. You want to leave Flaming Hounds. You don't really need Branding Ward or Pyre early. Your mana cost is going to be too high when you're level 1. But Zeal is fine, Crows are fine, and the Searing Touch. So I'd basically focus on these passives here, depending on what your town level is at. With being Fanatic Zeal being the most important, followed by Searing Touch, followed by Crows. But you can put like 1 point in each, or most in Fanatic Zeal, you can get 2 points Searing Touch. It all kind of works. Most of your damage is going to be repeater, so I'd prioritize that the most. Anyway, so that's the skills. I'm also leaving Fanatic Zeal, or sorry, Flaming Hounds at 1, even at this level. As I go on, I'll keep updating the brands and the Witch Pyre. The Witch Pyre increased heavily in mana cost, so it's 115 if I were to go up to 3 right now, so I haven't done that. It does do a lot more magic damage, and it has a lot more health and armor, but I'm not really focusing on those skills at all with this build. I'm playing it as a primary character. And then Branding Ward, as you increase it, increases the damage, it increases the duration, and it increases how many wards you can have. So I'm not really worried about any of that stuff besides the debuff on the target, and I mainly just use that against bosses. So I don't really care about these skills, and I don't really care about Flaming Hounds. I just keep it low level, so it's only 20 mana, and I can basically use it on cooldown, at least most of the time, to get my 8 stacks of Fanatic Zeal. And that's going to increase my crit by a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and get 8 stacks here. So 7 and 8. And we're up to 32% chance to crit with just our upgrades from the town and using this Fanatic Zeal. So another thing to note is that as you run out of stacks, it only removes 1 at a time. So you don't really have to worry too much about casting this constantly. Once you get 8 stacks, it takes a long time to lose all your stacks. But when you go through a floor, you will lose all your stacks. As far as the chapel, really all you need for early game is going to be Path of Defender. After that, I'd pick up Blessing of Mind, and then Symbol of Essence and Divine Hammer. I just like this setup. So Path of Defender, you're always going to want to take less damage. As far as the mana goes, I want to be able to use Fanatic Hounds. Eventually, you'll have enough mana regen from just having your Sorcerer NG titles that you can shift away from this and maybe take your physical damage ignores 20% of the armor, or if you start using Incinerated Demise Drink, you'll take Blessing of Intellect, so because your magic damage will surpass your physical damage. It really just depends where you build from here. You will want to gain Symbol of Essence after that in Tier 3 Chapel. So you can get Lifesteal on your primary. That's going to be your main way of sustaining. We don't really need that in G0. In G1 and 2, you want to start looking at finding Symbol of Essence. After that, you can get Divine Hammer. Divine Hammer just does a lot of damage. It also is targeted, so wherever you're aiming your repeater, it's also going to shoot the hammer. You could go Divine Strike, but it fires kind of randomly and does magic damage. So depending on how you're playing the character, you might want the hammer instead of Divine Strike. Or you might want Divine Strike, but I enjoy the hammer. You know, as I shoot my repeater, you can see the hammer fly out, and it has a longer range, and I can direct the damage where I want the damage to go. As far as drinks go for the character, in G0 you only really can use a couple drinks. You only have these you know, common drinks unlocked, and the only things that are really beneficial to your character is going to be a Smelly Old Man. Again, just to make sure you have some mana regen so you can use the skills when you need them, especially the Flaming Hounds. And then I'd also pick up Crazy Eye to have even more crit. So when you have your 8 stacks, with Crazy Eye and all the upgrades on the town, you're going to be hitting really good crit numbers, which I'll show in a moment. You can take the XP drink to get the plus 50 XP gain, but you do lose 0.4 movement speed. You can make up the movement speed by getting on the run. You lose some gold, but you gain movement speed. So that's probably what I would be doing. You also can do Miner's Delight and Fool's Errand. If you're fine with having 0 regen, but you really don't have much regen anyway. I have 2.3 right now with my class titles from my priest, but at NG0 you have a little less. But with 165 life, it's going to take a long time for this regen to really get your health back up. Early game, you're going to be focusing on potions. After that, you're going to have the lifesteal from the chapel, so you're really not going to be worried about your health at all. So you can end up doing like Miner's Delight for ore gain, and then you can get your gold gain back because you lose 75 gold gain there. Get your gold gain back by taking Fool's Errand, and you just lose the health regen. So this is a good way to kind of farm early. And then I would take On the Run as well. You minus 25 gold gain after you just gained the 100, after you just lost the 75. So you kind of equal back out, and you get your movement speed that you lost from, or that you would lose from the XP one. So you can fit in the XP one if you want. You don't want to do Crazy Eye, or you don't want to do Smelly Old Man, you can do Lazy Stroll instead. But that's kind of how that combo of drinks would go. Fountain, I use basically the same setup on all my characters. It's pretty similar to this one. Early game you can kind of mess around with it as you want, but since you're a ranged character, you can kind of take off the toppled towers. But I go Genome Traps. Always just want to take less damage from traps. Safe corridors, so less traps in general. More movement speed, there's another one you can drop if you don't want it. Depending on how much money you have to spend, you can either topple the towers and move slower. I personally really like the movement speed, so I pick it and spend 1,000 gold, but whatever. As a ranged character, you can kill towers really easily. They're not really gonna, you know, pose too much of a threat to you, so I would maybe do this one if you don't have the money. The movement speed is good. It's your lucky day, so this just increases your chance to crit by giving you luck. Wonderful gifts, more imps. You can take this one off as well. Imps are nice, but they're not like guaranteed to happen, and you're not guaranteed to get what you want. I always do Mysterious Guidance. Monoliths are just really good on basically every character. Glass Walks, it lets you get to some treasure you otherwise wouldn't be able to get to. And then Treasure Hunt is kind of the same thing. You create more chests in your run that you wouldn't have if you didn't have it. Then on the negative side, to balance all this out, I have Lousy Consumables. Again, if you need the consumables, if you're sustaining off of that, then you probably don't want to take Lousy, but it's going to cost you more. You have to have some kind of negatives over here. So it really depends if you're sustaining off of potions, if you have Symbol of Essence already, or if you're trying to use like regen, or you're trying to use consumables. But I forego the consumables. This character came out later. My town was already established. So unless you're trying to use this as your first ever character in the game, I would just go Lousy Consumables here, because I'm getting rid of my regen from the drinks. I have Leech from the chapel, so I don't need any of this. But if you don't have Leech in the chapel, you can go take off Lousy Consumables and either grab Exceptional Consumables, or you can take Bigger Bottle to have more potion charges, and you just gotta take off maybe like Plentiful Gifts, or take off the movement speed, and you're back down. So you can kind of mess around with it however you see fit. Let's let me put this back. There we go. Alright. I go more enemies, so that's just more XP. Enemy overseers, so the enemy bosses can drop items and keys, so I make sure I have more of them, so I can get more items, more keys. Agile enemies move faster. It's really not a big deal, they don't attack faster, they just move faster. So it shouldn't really change anything for you. Minor Strike, elevators are unusable, so you don't have to do this one, especially for progressing early game. You can take off the elevators are unusable and take off plentiful gifts and like the movement speed, because those are kind of whatever. So then you can deposit if you don't feel like you can beat Dragon. I'm at the point where Thunder Snow really isn't a problem, so I usually put on Minor Strike. And then last I have Dry Springs, which is another one that you might want to flip around if you're trying to sustain only on potions, but if you have Symbol of Essence, you really shouldn't need the potions at all, or you shouldn't need more than 4 potions. Anyway, so that's the fountain setup and kind of the explanations behind it. As far as items go, it's kind of similar to a lot of the other primary builds. You're looking for Sword of Kings if you're going offensively, or Heart Seeker offensively, or you can go defensively and get like Amulet Kings. If you have the Anvil unlocked, you can get 2 of those. So I'll roll the shop and kind of tell you what I'm looking at. So Magebane is a pretty good item, but it doesn't work against bosses, so this is one I always skip. A Duelist Edge, it's nice, like evasion, but we're not really focusing on evasion. It is good to have, but we really just want some damage early game. Dwarven Pickaxe only works against constructs, there's not really a lot in the tower. Guardian Figurine is kind of a meme. Greater Sphere is just for mana, we don't care about mana. Seal of Rage is the meme. Dwarven Pickaxe again, Seal of Rage again. Alright, so yeah, Lucky Hat can be okay as well. You can go Lucky Hat in Judgment if you have that kind of stuff in the Anvil. If you don't have the Anvil, I would just go Sword of Kings or Amulet Kings, honestly. You can also go Judgment, and that's flat damage to your primary. And then every 7th attack also lowers the health of the target by 2.5%, which is pretty good, and especially if it has like good supporting items. Like we have some evasion here, we have some armor, we have a way to disarm enemies, so this would be a perfectly fine one. You can keep rolling and try to find other stuff, but that would have been perfectly fine. You don't have Leech in the Chapel, you can take the Bloodthirst Ring. Magebane can be okay, like I was saying. There's a lot of different ways you can go, but ideally I would say get one of the King's items, either Sword of Kings or Scepter of Kings. This is a Bloodthirst item I was talking about with the lifesteal, so it's another way to get lifesteal that you can't get anywhere else except for the chapel. That's kind of nice. There's Judgment with attack speed and flat damage on primary, so that's a really good one to pick up. And then I would suggest buying like 10 of each keys, go around, find all the chests, make sure you get money for all of the shops. But yeah, Amulet King is really good to help you with Act 4, so you don't die to Wisp. So I'd probably say go with Amulet Kings, but if you get offered something that looks really good to you, try it out. It might be really good. And if you have the Anvil, you can craft those items. Heartseeker's good. Get even more crit on your primary. Like if I were to craft it right here, I go up to 21.3 right now. Oh wait, I attuned it. Well, I needed to craft it, so it's I don't have 40 ore. Anyway, I would have crafted it, and we'd gain that extra. What was it, 17.5, I believe? Or 17.5. Or 12.5, my bad. 12.5 there, so that'd be added to this 21, and then when you use all your Flaming Skulls, it's going to go higher and higher. And we're going to be pushing like a lot of crit really early, and that's just going to help out a lot if you have any crit bonus at all. So we'll go up to 37, so that'd be 37 plus another 12, you'd be looking at like 50-ish crit off the bat, and my crit damage is 520%, so you're going to be doing a lot of damage just by going crit here. So go crit offensively or Sword of Kings, defensively go Amulet Kings. Anyway, hope this guide was helpful for you guys. Oh, I guess one more thing is the statues. So if you have statues, you can use them. If you don't have them, it's really not a big deal. You can easily run without them. Statues for Basically any primary build, it's going to be Kyra, increases your primary attack speed by 20%, and you also have a chance of firing arrows. These arrows are pretty good damage early, and you only need level 1, so it's like kind of the perfect statue for primary builds. After that, you can use Callus. It gives you free block, 20% chance to block in a 360 AoE. Very nice. You also get a little bit of attack power just based off your armor. Again, it's only level 1, so I don't get too much. My armor is pretty low. It's in the negatives right now, but it applies before the negatives happen. So if I turn it down, I have like 82. So 5% of that, you know, I'm getting like 3 or 4 attack power. It's not really that big of a deal. But if you have some actual levels, it will add up pretty quickly. And then lastly is Bolgarth. Every 5th attack of your primary combos in combo triggers a combo blast that deals 100 magical damage. So pretty nice, like extra damage there. And then each level of the statue increases the time to maintain combo by 0.5 seconds. So as you level it up, it's going to get better and better, and probably until like level 5 or 10. Then it will last 5 seconds or 10 seconds, and yeah, it's like you don't get much from it after that because you're just in combo long enough. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, that's the character. That's the setup I would use, or the setup I did use for NG0 and NG1. If you want for NG0, you can also use the cape build. Just recently making a guide on that. So if you're interested in that, you can go check it out. And let me know if you guys have any questions or comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.